You talking about the soup kitchen workers that registered with the IDF and told them their exact positions, and then they targeted them?
Yeah.
And they were in different cars, and they blew up each car, not just one. It wasn't just like one rogue missile. It's like, no, they targeted these cars, that these cars registered with the IDF and said, hey, we are doing, humanitarian aid. We're feeding these people. These are our cars. And they blew them up. And then, and you see these like, these groups, like on Telegram, they're like laughing about it. They have like video of, they're like holding up the passports and smiling over the dead bodies and shit and like celebrating. And it's like, these are aid workers, idiots.
Right. Dan Bilzerian, self-proclaimed gambling, guns, and glory, doesn't hold back when it comes to the controversial opinions. In this explosive sit-down with the Hodgetwins, he pulls back the curtain on Israel's double standards, exposing the hypocrisy behind the conflict with Palestine, all while dropping truth bombs like only he can. No sugarcoating, no holds barred, just straight fire. Are we ready for real talk? Let's dive in.
Like,
I mean, I was so proud to be the biggest cuck for Israel. When Kanye went on Alex Jones' show, I was like, man, this dude's anti-Semitic, and I was on, I was a moron, right? And I was on TikTok looking at videos, right? And these people said, "Free Palestine." I said, "What are these people talking? Where the hell is Palestine at?"
Never heard. Yeah.
So I Googled it, and I was like, "Oh shit, this place used to be called UK Palestine." And I started doing my research, and a Jewish lady on TikTok, she said, I lived in Palestine. She was Jewish. She said everybody's passports had Palestine. He said it actually existed before they turned to Israel in 46, 48.
Yeah.
He said it was Jews, Muslims, and Palestinians living
Christians
there.
too, right?
And Christians, yeah.
Yeah.
But the majority was not Jewish people.
Yeah.
It was Muslim.
yeah, I mean, they went over there and they just, murdered a bunch of people. They stole their homes. I mean, my friend Mohammed Hadid, Gigi and Bella Hadid's dad, they let in Jewish refugees, and the Jewish refugees kicked them out of their own house. Can you imagine letting people into your house, like, come in, we'll save you, and then they kick you out of your own home? Like, it's just such a crazy concept.
Yeah. Why do you think Republicans, like, I think Democrats get what's going on in Israel to the Palestinian people, I think, and that's saying something because Democrats are freaking idiots. Why do you think they get it and Republicans don't get it?
Well, I think they're kind of like the broken clock is right once a day type of thing, or twice a day, whatever.
Right.
I think that they see the settler colonialism or whatever, and they've been programmed with this whole like white supremacy is the problem in America. And so they see that as like white supremacy. They see the obvious apartheid. I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure this out, what's going on over there. The two sets of justice, the persecution. And so I think the Jewish narrative that has been pushed to these people has kind of backfired because, the Jewish Democrats say, oh, white supremacy is the problem. And, racism is the problem and blah, blah, blah. And, we need DEI and we need all this stuff. And then the Republican Jews say, oh, it's the terrorists, it's the jihadists, right? So they kind of like, they both blame all these different groups when it's the Jews that are causing all these problems. But the diversion, it keeps the right thinking, oh, the terrorists, right? Like we got programmed. Like every movie I ever saw, the terrorists are the bad guys. The jihadi terrorists. They were always the bad guys. They always had a turban on.
Muslim.
Always Muslim. Always,
Never Israeli.
Never Israeli. No. And so you get programmed with this stuff and you see it enough and you just, you start to think, okay, well, these are just bad people and you dehumanize them. I was in the military. I was in the military 4 years. My friends, I just remember being in there. It's like, yeah, these Hajis and, they come up with names for them. And then later on, they kind of look back and they're like, what if that wasn't a bad guy? What if that was me? What if somebody showed up in my house and kicked my door in? I'd grab my gun and defend myself. That's what that guy did, and I killed him for it. And I think when you dehumanize a population, it's easy to rationalize out doing this stuff. And so that's what they do. They tell the right, like, these are Muslims, they're all terrorists, they're the scumbags, they're the problem. And so you have all these,
they always say they're all inbred savages. Animals.
Yeah, inbred, camel, goat, whatever, all this stuff, And I bought into it too, man.
They do camel and sheep.
What, rednecks do it too? Rednecks do it too.
There might be some truth at the goat part, but regardless, you get indoctrinated with this stuff, and then you're just like, well, they're the problem, and then you just shut everything off. And so I think that's why they've still got the right saying, oh, Israel are the, they're the white guys, they're the, the the cultured people. They're the, you know, they have a democracy. They're the only democracy in the Middle East, and you know they're living amongst
That's
these
a democracy in Israel.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so, but that's what they're programmed with. Is
Right.
like that's the one country that's like us,
Right.
you know, and they're surrounded by all these bad guys, and we got to help them, and
It's just a big lie.
it's just bullshit.
Yeah.
I have no man. What the hell were they thinking putting a bunch of white looking Jews around a bunch of Arabs? It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, you know, that's the funny thing is, you know, they talk about Semites, and most of the Israelis are not actual Semites. They're from Europe. They're
Yeah.
Eastern European Ashkenazi Jews. And they did the DNA studies. I think it was like John Hopkins did a DNA study, and like 80% of the Palestinians are like actual Semites that are linked to that land.
Right.
And like 97% of the Israelis are not. And so, you know, and then you find out that DNA testing is illegal in Israel. Like you have to get a court order to get a DNA test. And this is like one thing of the long laundry list of, you know, of hypocrisy of like, you know, the owner of 23andMe is Jewish, you know, but they don't allow that there.
Right.
You know, the owner of Pornhub, the owner of OnlyFans, like the owners of all these like porn sites are Jewish, but they don't allow that in Israel. You know, in the U.S., it's open borders. In the U.K., it's open borders. It's race mixing. It's, you know, do this, you know, diversity this, diversity that.
Right.
Not in Israel. Show me how many Jewish Israeli women are married to black guys.
Yeah.
And show me how many, Israeli men are married to black women. It's like it doesn't happen there. And you know what happened when they had black Jews go there from Ethiopia? They sterilized them. I'm not making this up. You can Google it and you'll see it in like Haaretz or whatever. The Jew, because I use Jewish publications because they rat on themselves all the time.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's what they did. So when the actual black Jews went there, they sterilized them.
How did they do that?
They gave them birth control that sterilized them, like without their consent, without their knowing it.
They told them it was like aspirin or something.
Well, I don't know what the premise was, but you know, you can.
He probably thought it was Tylenol.
Yeah, look at there. You go, right there.
Ethiopian women in Israel giving contraception without consent.
Yeah, and some of those contraceptives were like permanent.
Oh, so they did it to the
Wow.
women.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
That
I'm not making this
crazy.
shit up. Like, and I didn't like I said, like the more you start to dig and the more you find out about this stuff, the more up it is. And then it's like, oh, you know, it's just the Israeli government. And then you look at the polls. It's like, no, like 65% of the Israelis like are on board with this or think that they should be using more force. You know, so it's like the population is behind this nonsense, and a lot of them think they're not, you know, doing enough.
Right.
And
I had
We got invited to Israel.
I didn't go because that's an accident waiting to happen. I look just like Hamas. So when I see our leaders go over there like Trump, I see I had a person go over there that I knew. To walk down certain places in Jerusalem or in Israel, you have to wear their hat. What's it called?
a yarmulke.
Yarmulke. Just to walk down the street, you have to wear that. Or if you go inside of one of their
Well, Trump had to wear it. Obama had to wear it. Everybody who goes over there, you have to wear the hat.
Well, you want to be wearing the hat, or else you get spit on.
right, because I see a lot of Christians.
You get spit on?
Yeah, they spit on Christians. Yeah, if they see a cross or they know that you're Christian or you have a Bible, they'll spit on you. And they openly say it. That's another thing you can Google.
It's a tradition, right, Dan?
Yeah, no, they say it. Yeah, it's a Jewish tradition. It's like, and that's what I'm saying is like,
Came across those videos.
and it's like, oh, you know, we've been persecuted. It's like, no, you guys have been acting like assholes, spitting on Christians, poisoning their wells, killing children. Doing,
Were they like Ethiopian or something?
No,
They look
that's
kind
a-
of dark.
oh, I mean, there's no shortage of these
video.
videos. There's like literally thousands of these videos.
Yeah.
If you want to find videos of Jews spitting on Christians, there was no end to that. There will be thousands.
So
and
why
thousands.
did? That's what I don't get. You have Christians here in America, especially within our government, and then you see Christians how they're getting persecuted and treated over there in Israel. It's like I don't even understand what's the conflict between when it comes between different religions. I mean, they told us a bunch of lies about Muslims. They say Israel is our greatest ally, but when you see what they do to Christians over there, spitting and mocking them, and they willing, while in the United States they call out a lot of hate here, but it's like I think it's all just BS here, and they are the true haters. I mean, can you actually say that these people that occupy Israel right now are they actually Semitic people?
I don't think they're Semites, and I think they hate Christians. And I think we're taught that, you know, Judeo-Christian values, which is just a bullshit word.
Right.
Because, you know,
I don't even know what that means.
it means bullshit. It means utter bullshit. So Peter Schaefer, he was the head of Judaic studies at Princeton for like 15 years, and he was the director of the Jewish Museum in Berlin, and, you know, very well-read, and he wrote a book called Jesus in the Talmud. And he talks about, you know, what the Talmud says about Jesus, and that basically he's a, you know, total scumbag piece of shit. He's in hell. He's burning in human feces and sperm, and that the Virgin Mary's a whore, and, you know, all this stuff. And so the idea of Judeo-Christian values, when one group thinks that, and not just one group, you know, it's not just the Christians that think that Jesus was a great man. Well, they think he's God or whatever, but the Muslims, they think that Jesus was a great prophet. So these two religions are actually like pretty similar. One thinks he's God, one thinks he's a great prophet, but either way, it's, you know, the majority of the world thinks that Jesus was a great man. It's only the Jews that don't. They're literally like the only ones that think he was a piece of shit.
Well, they killed him, right? Them and the Romans, right?
Well, they definitely killed him for sure. Well, they ordered it. I mean, it's kind of like, you know, if the president orders an assassination, the president killed you, not the person that like shows up at your door, right? So, like, you know.
Well, folks, if you didn't get it, Dan Bilzerian isn't just a guy who throws around cash and smokes cigars for a living. He's dropping truth bombs like it's a full-time job. First off, the whole Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East narrative. Please, as Dan pointed out, they preach open borders and diversity for every other nation, but try showing up in Israel with a different skin color or faith, and they'll probably offer you a one-way ticket to nowhere. Doesn't exactly scream democracy, does it? Secondly, this whole dehumanization of Palestinians, the narrative that the terrorists are the bad guys, is a play straight out of Hollywood. Dan called it out perfectly. Get us to believe that the real bad guys are the ones with turbans, while completely ignoring the history and the people who've repeatedly getting their land stolen and their lives destroyed. Kudos to the Hodgetwins for having the open mind to let Dan's points land. They get it. Now, will the rest of us get the memo? Or are we still busy watching the wrong movies? Either way, we can't unsee the truth now. Let's talk about it down below. Don't forget to like and share, y'all, and I hope to catch you in the next one.